Hurry, get out of here. Before they find you, quickly. The young waitress pulls my arm and pushes me out of the restaurant. This part-time staff member anxiously ushers me out while repeatedly glancing back inside. Today, I had come to this particular Italian restaurant to see my precious daughter, who my ex-husband took custody of when we divorced. I can't hide my anger at this stranger interfering with my rare monthly opportunity. Hey, what's the deal? As I try to shake off the waitress's grip on my arm, I notice her hand is trembling slightly. Please calm down and listen. The truth is, that parent and child are. My name is Charlotte, a 37-year-old mother. I'm divorced, and my daughter lives with my wealthy ex-husband Jack. My daughter's name is Emily, and she's about to turn 13. I met Jack, who was older than me, at a group date when I was a student. We got married after I graduated college. Some close friends invited me to join a group date on a whim, and that's where I encountered him. Jack's looks were decent. Being older, he had a calm demeanor, and I found his thoughtfulness and smile charming at the time. When everyone exchanged contact info, Jack was the first to reach out. I had such a wonderful time today. Thanks to you, I was able to spend a meaningful evening. Thank you. I still remember how that single message made my heart flutter. It didn't take long for Jack and I to start dating. He always took the lead on dates, and most importantly, we could enjoy fun times together that put smiles on both our faces. Rather than an extravagant church proposal, Jack popped the question during a hotel stay on a trip. When we went to announce our engagement to Jack's family, his mother seemed like a very kind person. We held a small wedding ceremony with just close relatives. I also disliked the idea of a flashy, showy wedding, so it was very manageable. Jack's mother looked overjoyed then too, and I was happy thinking we were about to become family. After getting married, Jack remained a reliable, dependable husband. Our married life progressed smoothly, and at age 23, I was blessed with a child. Wanting to prioritize the baby, I discussed it with my husband and decided to quit my job, live with my mother-in-law at Jack's family home, and lead a calm life. Pregnancy was more challenging than I had imagined. I suffered from severe morning sickness, and as my belly grew, my back and legs began to ache. I felt I had made the right choice leaving my job. At the same time, I deeply respected women who work while pregnant. Despite the many difficulties, I had a stable life at my in-laws' home in early pregnancy. After all, my mother-in-law was sincerely happy for me during that initial period. Charlotte, take good care of yourself and give birth to a healthy baby. It's best to avoid raw foods and caffeine. They're not good for the little one. She was very attentive in various ways. On days I felt well, I helped out at the Italian restaurant my mother-in-law ran. Her attitude changed after I adjusted to the challenges of pregnancy and learned the baby's sex. We found out the baby's gender. The doctor said it's likely a girl. Oh, really? I was convinced it would be a boy. I really want a grandson to take over the restaurant. It'll be difficult with a girl. My mother-in-law stopped being considerate of me from that day onward. In fact, her treatment grew terrible, and she started to find me bothersome. Furthermore, she began telling me to have a boy next before.
Can you imagine making $10,000 a month just from YouTube, all from home? That's exactly what I did with Reddit Stories. No face, no voice. Check the link in the description if you're curious.
Or the baby was even born. Jack seemed to share his mother's feelings, and he rapidly grew colder toward me during this period. He was clearly disappointed that our unborn child was a girl. Pregnancy from then on was miserable. More than worrying about the baby, I had to tread carefully around my mother-in-law and Jack. Eventually, our adorable daughter was born, and we named her Emily. What a precious child. Thank you so much for coming into this world. I was so happy that I couldn't stop crying. However, after being discharged from the hospital, I returned to my in-laws' home to hear. Well then, a boy next time. A male heir is essential to entrust the restaurant to, after all. Charlotte, please give birth to a boy next. Let me know as soon as your period resumes. My mother-in-law said this without even glancing at the granddaughter I held. She had pressured me about this for a while, so I was prepared, but I never expected this reaction upon seeing her first grandchild. Unsure how to respond to my disinterested mother-in-law, I snuck a peek at Jack. Mom's right. Considering the restaurant, we need a son. Have a boy next time. He nodded with a smug look. What was this man saying? He had no intention of taking over his mother's restaurant and worked for a company, so why was he so fixated on having our children inherit it? I understood they wanted a boy and desired a second child. However, treating our daughter as if she didn't exist was unacceptable. At this rate, even her grandmother and father would ignore her like she was invisible. If a boy came along later, it was clear they would neglect our daughter. Rather than allowing that, I started taking steps toward divorce to protect my child. The day after I resolved to leave to safeguard my daughter, I began searching for places online. I truly wanted to move out. I had no one to rely on. But I felt it was better to raise Emily on my own than continue this life. I wasn't picky about where to live, but I decided to look in the city where I had lived alone before marriage since I was used to it. However, finding a home wasn't so simple. Information about my workplace was necessary for rental contracts, but no company would hire me with a newborn. Moreover, my previous employer had turned me down, saying to wait until my child was a bit older. So I couldn't secure a rental agreement. Still, I managed to find an apartment and planned to pack up and leave with my daughter. Once, Jack passed by, saw my phone screen, and said, "Why are you looking at houses? I have no intention of moving. I'm thinking of living with our daughter, just the two of us, from now on. I can't bear to stay in this house any longer. Jack, please divorce me." When I told him that, Jack replied, "What are you talking about? You haven't even given birth to a boy yet. And how will you support yourself? You'll job hunt while caring for an infant. You think you can provide for a child alone while unemployed?" I had planned to get by for a while on savings from before quitting my job and with remote work. "Fine. If that's how you feel, I'll give you a divorce. But no splitting assets. If you agree to that, I'll divorce you." Thrilled that Jack finally consented to the divorce, I joyfully prepared to find our next home and move out. Then, one day, as I was about to take Emily to submit the signed divorce papers, I couldn't find her anywhere in the house. "Hey, where's Emily? Where is she? I'm not handing over Emily. She's a potential heir, after all." "What's that about? That's not what we agreed on. If you've got a problem with it, take me to court. If you think you can win a custody battle while jobless, go ahead and try." I clenched my back teeth tightly at Jack's words. In the end, our opinions didn't align, and we really ended up in a custody battle. During that time, we couldn't finalize the divorce, and my mother-in-law and Jack openly displayed their malice toward me. I lost the custody dispute after 6 months. I had savings but had used a considerable amount on moving. Now unemployed with Emily only 6 months old, my options for childcare were limited. As someone just starting a job search, I was low priority. On the other hand, Jack had stable finances and his mother's help during the day. Although she ran an Italian restaurant, she wasn't in the kitchen or at the establishment all day, every day. She could handle Emily's future daycare drop-offs and pickups. Considering Emily's access to a comfortable life, the court deemed Jack's side more suitable. A public institution told me I was unfit to raise Emily, and I was kicked out of my in-laws' home, devastated. I cried for hours, hugging my knees in my tiny apartment before strengthening my resolve. I would secure stable employment and living conditions. Then I would petition again for custody of Emily. My initial job hunt struggled, but I refused to give up for Emily's sake. Later, I successfully received and accepted an offer for a sales position. After completing training, I contacted Jack. "I've settled into a new job and stabilized my life, so let me have our daughter." We won in court. "If you want to change custody, you'll have to file again. Emily is trying her best to adjust to life here, but you only think of yourself." "Well, I'll give you chances to see Emily. Once a month should be plenty." At first, I couldn't argue against Jack's statement. Still, for Emily's benefit, I faithfully paid $300 in child support each month and cherished our monthly visitation. Until recently a baby, Emily reveals a new side of herself each time we meet monthly. While I'm happy about that, it's truly frustrating not to witness her growth firsthand. The time I spend with Emily is genuinely blissful. I don't want to regret missing her development anymore. I work hard to see Emily, and I've come to strongly feel that my life exists solely for our meetings. As the months and years passed, Emily kept growing rapidly. She began stringing 2-3 words together, progressing from pulling herself up to tottering about. By then, my income had also increased. I told Jack once more that I wanted custody of Emily. However, Jack replied, "It's impossible for you to stably raise a daughter on that level of income. You plan to just leave her somewhere while you work all day. Here, even if I'm not around, my mother is, and she's popular with customers who find her adorable playing in the restaurant. You're a terrible mother for wanting Emily to lead a sad life where she only sees her mom at night after working from dawn to dusk." He wouldn't grant me custody. It happened when I called Jack to see Emily, who had suddenly become an elementary school student. "About my time with Emily this Sunday." I checked with Emily, and it seems she made plans with friends that day, so she can't see you. "Well then, could I ask for a different day? I have my own schedule, so this date is the only one that works this month." "Let's do next month." He refused me like that. "I want to see Emily. I don't want to miss any more of her growth." At the same time, I sometimes wondered how Emily felt. She's no longer just a cute toddler. She clearly has her own will and is reaching a rebellious age. Would she want to see a mother who hasn't properly raised her until now? I was driven by such unease. She's at an age when she wants to play with friends, so it can't be helped. I tried to convince myself of that, but after this day, my visitations with Emily gradually became irregular and decreased in frequency. Even on the rare occasions we had set plans, Emily would cancel last minute, saying she wanted to hang out with friends or had lessons. I was worried, but I agonized over whether it was right to force her to see me when she didn't want to. Anyway, I dreamed of someday earning the stable income Jack would accept and living with Emily. I worked and steadily saved money toward that singular goal. But as Emily entered middle school, new reasons like being busy with club activities and studies made it even harder to meet. I kept paying child support while also never failing to save for a life with Emily. But even my patience had limits. Emily's feelings aside, I want to see her, even just a glimpse. I want to talk with her. Reaching my breaking point, I called Jack. "Could you please work with Emily's schedule somehow? I've hardly seen her at all since she started middle school." "Hey, are you really using the child support money for Emily? You're not just spending it on yourself." "If I can't see Emily to check on her, I'm considering consulting the appropriate authorities. I know you and Emily are busy, but I wish you'd coordinate your plans for this once-a-month visit." After I said that, Jack paused for a bit before replying, "Got it. Let me check with Emily, so wait a minute." He ended the call there for the day. A few days later, I received word that I could see Emily for a short time after her regular exams ended and before her cram school session at a nearby Italian restaurant. I was genuinely excited to meet with Emily. It would be a reunion with Emily after so long. Just thinking about what present would be good for my middle school daughter had me giddy. I worked hard for the sake of that day. On the appointed day, I arrived at the station a whole hour earlier than our meeting time of 2 p.m. I killed time browsing a nearby department store. I was more nervous than ever. While contemplating what kind of conversation to have with my now adolescent daughter and delighting in seeing her for the first time in ages, the anxiety that she might not consider me worth prioritizing over hanging out with friends also crossed my mind. What if my rebellious daughter reacts coldly, unlike before? What if we end up in a situation where she's constantly fiddling with her smartphone without any conversation? Should I scold her? All sorts of thoughts run through my head. I overdid it coming with so much extra time, I regret as I notice it's already 1:40 p.m. It's a bit early, but I suppose I can head over now. I enter the Italian restaurant where we plan to meet 15 minutes before the appointed time. A young waitress who seems to be a part-timer greets me. Her hair is so long that it hides her eyes. Welcome. I'm a little early, but I have a 2 p.m. meeting. When I give her my name along with Jack and Emily's, the waitress's expression turns tearful as she says, "You're." She continues, "Escape right now. Before they find you. Hurry." I'm baffled. Huh? What do you mean? Still confused by what she's saying, I'm led away with a, "this way," taken out of the restaurant through the back door. You may not believe it, but that girl isn't your real daughter. She's Iris, a child unrelated to you by blood. While guiding me out, the waitress furrows her brow and closes her eyes. Then, with a resolute gaze, she looks straight at me. Did you know your husband was cheating on you while you were married? What? I'm shocked. I can't believe he had time for that when he was always glued to his mother's side. At the same time, I'm skeptical about whether what this waitress is saying is true. As I carefully choose my words, she rapidly continues. It seems he was two-timing since before he met you. Right after divorcing you, Jack promptly married his mistress. Iris is a high schooler now. So she's the child born from Jack's affair. The girl you've been meeting these past few years is Iris, not your daughter. I need a moment to process this information. Various facts swirl in my head. My ex-husband's infidelity. The one I've been seeing is Iris, not my daughter Emily. Then where is my real daughter? Still perplexed, I ask the waitress, "How do you know such private details?" Iris also works part-time at this restaurant. She once bragged about how she and her father have been deceiving you. Iris told me about Jack's cheating and how they mock you for continuing to pay child support for a fake daughter. And also, I wipe away tears at the waitress's final words. Feeling betrayed, I exit through the back door, contemplating my next steps. I make a phone call and wait 10 minutes. I'll confront Jack and Iris alongside the police officers who arrived. I called the police, informing them that I've been defrauded, the culprits are here, and I need them to come quickly. I head back to the restaurant entrance, this time not alone but with the police. The waitress, different from earlier and wearing a manager name tag, is startled to see the police. I explain the situation and approach the table where Jack and Iris await me. Jack, appearing irritated by my absence at the appointed time, notices me and is about to direct his anger my way. However, his eyes abruptly dart to the officers beside me, and his face shifts to one of shock. I act as if nothing is amiss. "Sorry to keep you waiting. What's going on? Did something happen?" Jack is visibly flustered. "I have a few things I need to confirm." When I try to enlist the officer's help, Jack exchanged glances with Iris and silently seated me. The police stood where they could see the three of us, me, Jack, and Iris. "Well then, I'd like to ask you." Before the officer could finish, I interject, unable to contain myself. "Who is that girl? Is she really my child?" With the police mediating, I confront Jack with what I heard. Iris kept her head down the whole time. That's got to be some made-up story. This child is yours. Right, Emily? Iris nods with a charming smile and calls me Mom. In that case, Could I see your daughter's student ID? The officer's calm request causes both Iris and Jack to visibly turn pale as they stammer. When the officer gently asked to see the student ID again, Iris, on the verge of tears, slowly took it out of her wallet. The ID clearly showed her high school's name and her name, Iris. This girl isn't Emily. Facing the evidence, I broke down in tears. In truth, I had felt for a while that my daughter's demeanor had changed. I'd read that children's appearances change as they grow, and I convinced myself it was natural for her to look different from when she was born. But I sometimes doubted how little she resembled me. On the other hand, she looked a lot like Jack, so I accepted she took after her dad. I was afraid that if I voiced these doubts to Jack, I wouldn't be allowed to see my daughter anymore. Tears of frustration and pathetic realization poured out. Jack seemed to give up and started talking. Actually, Emily wanted to live with you too. She kept saying she wanted to see her mom. Since you always said you wanted custody, I thought she might go with you if you met. Then I wouldn't get the monthly child support, right? That measly $300 was still appreciated. I was appalled. You did this for money. Mom's restaurant was in trouble. $300 is nothing for rebuilding a business, but it helped with our living expenses. But sorry. We're good now that I apologized, right? I can't forgive this. Give back the time you stole from me and Emily. Ugh, fine. How much do you want? $500. Don't mess with me. Bringing someone else while promising to let me see my daughter. I'll sue you for fraud. I declared. Jack's face visibly twitched at my threat of a lawsuit. I didn't swindle you, so there's no way it's fraud. Child support is for the child. I properly used that money for her living expenses. Acting high and mighty when you didn't even notice Iris wasn't your real daughter. Do you think you can talk to me like that? You might never see Emily again. Jack said that aggressively. Was he trying to intimidate me? I could only be appalled by his smug, gloating face. I looked straight at Jack and spoke clearly with confidence. It's fine. I've already met Emily, so it's all good. What? When? Jack's shoulders slumped. As if waiting for that cue, the waitress who had been observing from a distance approached. Jack grimaced upon seeing her. The young part-time waitress who had led me out the back door was actually my daughter, Emily. When she took me out back and told me about Iris, the waitress lifted the hair covering her eyes and said, "I've been waiting, Mom. It's me, Emily." The girl I thought was my daughter was Iris, and the waitress in front of me now was Emily. My mind was in a panic. But with her hair up, this girl resembled me somewhat. We had a similar height and hair texture. That's all though. To me, still in disbelief, Emily took out her wallet and showed me her student ID. It unmistakably had Emily's name written on it. Are you really Emily? Yes, Mom. I wanted to see you so badly. Emily clung to me as she said that. Ah, this scent, this feeling. It reminded me of holding newborn Emily. The grown Emily was completely different from the infant in my memories. But as her mother, I knew with a sense I couldn't explain to others that this child hugging me was Emily. I held Emily tightly. We cried together. I asked Emily about the life she had led. This Italian restaurant run by my ex-mother-in-law was where Emily, living at Jack's house, was forced to work like a servant. With the business struggling and the mother-in-law reluctant to pay wages, she had trained Emily as an employee. She made Emily work every single day and apparently handed her a meager sum late at night, calling it a daily wage. However, Emily was charged a usage fee even to eat meals or take a shower there. Emily lived with my ex-mother-in-law, Jack, Iris, and Iris's mother, enduring horrible treatment. Iris's attitude was especially awful. She repeatedly mocked and harassed Emily, who couldn't go anywhere, reveling in her sense of superiority as the beloved child. They never let poor Emily out of the house to avoid the slightest chance of running into me. So originally, she shouldn't have been at the restaurant today. The reason Emily was here was that one of the few employees fell ill and couldn't come in, so the manager called Emily as a substitute. The manager didn't know about Emily and Iris's relationship. Moreover, the mother-in-law wasn't aware of today's scheduled visitation, which had been arranged a few days prior. Emily didn't tell her and showed up to work like nothing was amiss. She proactively took on reception duties, planning to meet me. Jack inadvertently cursed out his mother but quickly shifted to a brazen attitude. Good thing you two met then. We're all set now that you've seen each other. It's not fraud, right? Thanks for going to the trouble of calling the cops. He laughed mockingly. I wanted to sigh at him, but this was the police's job from here on out. The officers addressed the mother-in-law, who had emerged from the back to observe. Is it true that you employed Emily and paid her wages? Of course. I properly gave her money. Aren't I kind? Is there a problem? I see. Well then, Emily, may I see your student ID? Emily, startled to suddenly be addressed by the police, presented her ID. It clearly stated the name of her middle school. The officer furrowed his brow and told the mother-in-law and Jack to come to the station. As the two expressed shock, the officer carefully chose his words and spoke in a low voice. It's illegal to have a 13-year-old middle schooler work like this. If you call it helping around the house, that's one thing. But if you're paying a salary, doesn't that make her an employee? There's a possibility it's an allowance, so we can't definitively call it illegal. There are some approved occupations even middle schoolers can work, but such long hours at a restaurant is a bit. Anyway, could you please come with us so we can hear more details? The officers slowly led the speechless pair to the patrol car and left. Later, the mother-in-law and Jack were arrested under the Child Abuse Prevention Act. There was a careful investigation into whether Emily was an employee, but more than that, her daily life was hopelessly unacceptable. Apparently, when Jack was arrested, Iris's mother took her daughter and fled. She's currently in divorce mediation with Jack. With no adults left in the house where Emily was living, I was finally able to gain custody of her. Taking this opportunity, I can now live with just Emily. We found a suitable apartment and decided to start our life there. I try to finish work as early as possible so I don't come home late, looking forward to dinner with Emily. Emily has adjusted to her new school life and tells me all sorts of stories about her friends, teachers, and the badminton club she wanted to try. Of course, she also talks about her studies. Math really is hard. Were you good at math, Mom? When Emily asks me that, I reply, I was in the science track, so I was decent at math. But I was hopeless at social studies. Then teach me this part. Let's see. For this problem. I write out equations in her notebook as I explain. Huh. I can solve it if I think about it that way. Thanks. This is what I always wanted. Having you teach me at home what I didn't understand at school, then bragging to my friends tomorrow that I figured it out. I never had anyone to teach me at home before. I'm counting on you from now on, Mom. These ordinary moments bring me to tears with joy. The decade I couldn't be by Emily's side is regrettable, but I'm determined to keep working hard so my daughter can lead a happy life going forward. For now, I want to relish this long-awaited life as a family.